The first gunshot echoed across the dusty main street of Trinidad, Colorado, as Olivia Northcott ducked behind an overturned water trough. It was 1876, and the frontier town was supposed to be her fresh start, not her burial ground. The second bullet splintered wood inches from her face, sending her heart racing as she pressed her back against her meager shelter, the hem of her skirt collecting dust and dirt. She hadn't been in town 3 days, and already someone was trying to kill her. "Stay down, madam." The voice came from somewhere to her left, deep and commanding. Olivia dared a glance around the edge of the trough to see a tall figure in a worn leather duster crouched behind a hitching post, revolver drawn. His face was obscured by the shadow of his wide-brimmed hat, but she could see the determined set of his jaw. Another shot rang out, this one from the man trying to help her. She heard a cry of pain from across the street, followed by the sound of running footsteps. "He's making a break for it," the stranger called out. "Stay where you are." Ignoring his advice, Olivia peered around the trough again. The would-be assassin was indeed fleeing, clutching his arm as he disappeared down an alley. Her rescuer was already on his feet, holstering his weapon with practiced ease. "Are you hurt?" he asked, striding toward her. "No," Olivia replied, brushing the dust from her skirt as she stood. "Thanks to you, mister." "Colt Irwin," he said, tipping his hat. His eyes were the color of whiskey in sunlight and crinkled at the corners when he spoke. A thin scar ran along his left cheekbone, and several days' worth of stubble darkened his jaw. "Most folks just call me Colt." "Olivia Northcott," she responded, offering her hand. "I'm obliged to you, Mr. Irwin." He took her hand briefly, his calloused palm rough against her skin. "Mind telling me why someone's taking shots at a lady in broad daylight?" Before she could answer, the local sheriff came running up, his badge glinting in the sunlight. "What in tarnation is going on here?" Sheriff Benton demanded, his mustache quivering with indignation. "Someone took a shot at Miss Northcott," Colt explained. "He went that way." He pointed toward the alley. "Got him in the arm, but he's long gone now," the sheriff frowned. "Miss Northcott, you've only been in town 3 days. Already bringing trouble?" "I assure you, Sheriff, I have no idea why anyone would want to harm me," Olivia said, though the slight tremor in her voice betrayed her uncertainty. Sheriff Benton sighed. "Well, I'll look into it. You should get inside somewhere safe. Trinidad ain't usually this exciting." He tipped his hat and headed toward the alley. "You're new in town," Colt said. "It wasn't a question." Olivia nodded. "I arrived on Tuesday's stage. I'm opening a dress shop." She gestured toward a storefront further down the street with a half-painted sign that read, "Northcott's Fine Apparel." "Well, Miss Northcott, somebody sure doesn't want you in business." Colt's gaze swept the street, alert for any further danger. "I think I'd better see you safely back to your shop." "That's very kind," but Olivia began, but was cut off by a wave of dizziness that made her sway on her feet. Colt caught her elbow. "Easy there. Getting shot at will shake anyone up, even if the bullets miss." "I'm fine," she insisted, straightening her spine. "Just a momentary weakness." "Still, I insist on escorting you," Colt said. "Whoever was shooting might come back." As they walked toward her shop, Olivia was acutely aware of the tall figure beside her, his presence somehow both reassuring and unsettling. She'd come to Trinidad to escape the past, not to find more trouble or a handsome cowboy who seemed to attract it. "You don't strike me as a dressmaker," Colt observed as they reached the shop. Olivia unlocked the door. "And what does a dressmaker strike you as, Mr. Irwin?" A smile tugged at his lips. "Fair point, but you've got the look of someone running from something." Olivia stiffened. "You're very presumptuous for a man I've just met." "Just an observation from someone who's done his share of running," Colt replied easily. "Takes one to know one." Before she could respond, he winced suddenly, pressing a hand to his side. "Mr. Irwin, are you hurt?" He shook his head. "Old wound acting up, nothing to fret over." Olivia noticed a dark stain spreading on his shirt beneath his duster. "You're bleeding. Were you hit?" "No," he said grimly. "Like I said, old wound. Sometimes it opens up when I move too quick." "Come inside," she ordered, holding the door open. "I have medical supplies." "That's not necessary. It wasn't a request, Mr. Irwin." Inside the shop, bolts of fabric and half-finished dresses lined the walls. A small apartment in the back served as Olivia's living quarters. She directed Colt to a chair and retrieved her medical kit. "Remove your shirt," she instructed, her tone professional. Colt raised an eyebrow but complied, unbuttoning his shirt to reveal a lean, muscled torso marked with several scars. The most concerning was a recent-looking wound on his right side that had indeed torn open. "This should have been stitched properly," Olivia remarked, examining the injury. "It was," Colt replied. "Those stitches tore out yesterday during a disagreement." "A fight, you mean," she said, soaking a cloth in antiseptic. "And you didn't have it restitched, didn't seem worth the bother." Olivia pressed the cloth to his wound, making him hiss through his teeth. "I suppose you've been shot before?" she asked sarcastically. "I've been shot before," he confirmed with unexpected seriousness. "And you're still too stubborn to learn," she retorted, preparing a needle and thread. A smile flickered across his face. That's what the doctor in Dodge City said too. As she worked on closing his wound properly, Olivia couldn't help but notice the map of scars across his body, telling a story of a violent life. "You're handy with that needle," Colt observed as she tied off the last stitch. "I wasn't always a dressmaker," she said quietly. "During the war, I volunteered as a nurse. You're full of surprises, Miss Northcott, as are you, Mr. Irwin." She bandaged the wound. "There. Try not to get into any more disagreements for at least a week." "Can't make any promises in my line of work," he said, buttoning his shirt. "And what exactly is your work, professional troublemaker?" Colt chuckled. "Close enough. I do odd jobs. Sometimes I ride with cattle. Sometimes I hunt bounties." "A bounty hunter," Olivia said flatly. "Of course." "Not at the moment," he clarified. "I'm between jobs, but I am curious about who might want you dead, Miss Northcott. Trinidad isn't known for its random shootings." Olivia busied herself putting away her medical supplies. "I have no idea. Perhaps they mistook me for someone else." "Perhaps," Colt agreed, though his tone suggested he didn't believe it. "Mind if I ask what brought you to Trinidad?" "A stagecoach," she replied primly. He laughed, a warm sound that sparked something in her chest. "Fair enough, we all have our secrets." Olivia stood by the window, watching the street outside. "Thank you for your assistance today, Mr. Irwin, and for escorting me safely back." "Colt," he corrected. "And I think I should stick around a while, make sure our shooter doesn't return." "That's not necessary." "Humor me," he said. "I've got nowhere particular to be." Before she could protest further, Sheriff Benton appeared at the door, knocking briskly before entering. "Miss Northcott, Mr. Irwin," he greeted them. "No sign of our shooter, but I found this." He held up a piece of paper. "It was dropped in the alley." Olivia took the paper, her face paling as she read it. "Leave Trinidad or join your husband," she read aloud. Colt's expression hardened. "So it wasn't random." "My husband is dead, Sheriff," Olivia explained, her voice tight. "He was killed in a train robbery 6 months ago in St. Louis." "I'm sorry for your loss, madam," Sheriff Benton said, "but it seems someone followed you from St. Louis." "Impossible," she insisted. "No one knew where I was going." "Someone did," Colt pointed out, "and they want you gone." Sheriff Benton twisted his hat in his hands. "I've got to be honest, Miss Northcott. Trinidad's peaceful most days, but I can't offer round-the-clock protection. I've got 3 deputies and a lot of ground to cover." "I can look after myself," Olivia said. Colt stepped forward. "I'll keep an eye on her, Sheriff." "That's not necessary," Olivia protested. "Actually, it might be a good idea," the sheriff said. "Irwin here's handy in a tight spot. Been helping us track down some cattle rustlers last month." After the sheriff left, Olivia turned to Colt with exasperation. "I don't need a bodyguard. Considering someone's trying to kill you, I'd say you do." He moved to the window, scanning the street. "Want to tell me why someone thinks you need to join your husband?" Olivia sank into a chair. "My husband, William, was a banker. The train he was on was robbed by the Fletcher Gang. He tried to stop them from taking a strongbox. They shot him." "I'm sorry," Colt said. "The gang was never caught," she continued. "But I testified about what I saw that day. I was on the train too, you see, in a different car. I heard the shots and came running." "You saw the killers," she nodded. "Just one of them. He wasn't wearing a mask like the others." "Young man with a scar through his left eyebrow. And now you think they've tracked you here?" "It seems impossible," Olivia said. "I told no one where I was going, not even my sister back east. I sold everything, changed my name, changed your name," Colt interrupted. So Northcott isn't your real name, it's my maiden name, she explained. I was Olivia Northcott before I married William Palmer, understanding dawned in Colt's eyes, so anyone looking for Olivia Palmer wouldn't find you, precisely. Yet somehow they have. She looked up at him, fear visible in her eyes despite her composed expression. What am I going to do? Colt settled into a chair across from her. First we figure out who's after you, then we stop them. Just like that, she asked skeptically. Just like that, he confirmed. I told you I'm between jobs. Looks like I just found one. Despite her reservations, Olivia felt a strange comfort in his confidence. You don't even know me, Mr. Irwin. Colt, he corrected again. And I know enough. You're a widow trying to start over. You're brave enough to set up shop alone in a frontier town. You're skilled with both needle and thread, whether it's for dresses or wounds, and someone wants you dead for doing the right thing. He leaned forward. That's enough for me to know you deserve help. Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them, a recognition, perhaps, of kindred spirits. Very well, she said finally, but I expect to compensate you properly for your services. Colt smiled. How about you start by making me a new shirt? This one's got a hole in it. For the first time that day, Olivia laughed, the sound surprising them both. I believe that can be arranged. The next morning, Olivia awoke to the smell of coffee. She found Colt in her small kitchen, stoking the stove. Hope you don't mind, he said, nodding toward the pot. I figured you could use a strong cup after yesterday. Where did you sleep? She asked, suddenly conscious of her loose braid and simple nightgown beneath her hastily donned robe. Chair by the door, he answered, pouring her a cup. Comfortable enough. You didn't have to stay the night. Actually, I did. He handed her the coffee. Someone tried your back door around midnight. Olivia nearly dropped the cup. What? Why didn't you wake me? Didn't see the need to frighten you. They ran off when I opened the door. Did you see who it was? Colt shook his head. Too dark. But I'm guessing it was our friend from yesterday. Olivia sank into a chair, the reality of her situation settling in. I can't live like this, jumping at shadows. You won't have to, Colt promised. I sent a telegram to a friend in Denver last night. He's with the Pinkerton agency. Asked him to send any information on the Fletcher Gang's recent activities. You think they're still operating? 3 men who successfully robbed a train wouldn't likely retire after one job, Colt reasoned. And if one of them is in Trinidad. The others might not be far behind, Olivia finished the thought. Exactly. Colt sat across from her. Now I need to know everything you remember about that day on the train. Every detail could help. As Olivia recounted the horrible day that had changed her life, Colt listened intently, occasionally asking questions about descriptions or timelines. The exercise was painful but necessary, and she found his methodical approach oddly comforting. So the man you saw, the one with the scar, he was the one who shot your husband? Colt asked. Olivia nodded. He was young, maybe 20, blonde hair, cold eyes. I'll never forget his face. And you're certain you've never seen him in Trinidad? Positive. I would recognize him anywhere. Colt rubbed his jaw thoughtfully. Then either he's very good at staying hidden, or he's got someone else doing his dirty work. The bell above the shop door jangled, making Olivia start. Colt was on his feet instantly, hand on his holster, but it was only the telegraph boy. Message for Mr. Irwin, the boy announced, holding out an envelope. Colt tipped him and unfolded the telegram. His expression darkened as he read. What is it? Olivia asked. My friend in Denver says the Fletcher Gang hit a bank in Pueblo last week. 3 men matching their description were seen heading south afterward. South, Olivia repeated. Toward Trinidad, seems so. Colt folded the telegram and tucked it into his pocket. There's more. The leader of the gang is rumored to be a man named James Fletcher. 22 years old, blonde, with a scar through his left eyebrow. Olivia paled. That's him, the man I saw. If Fletcher is here, the others won't be far, Colt said grimly. And they're not going to stop until they eliminate the only witness who can identify them. I should leave, Olivia said. Go somewhere else, start over again. And keep running the rest of your life. Colt shook his head. No, we end this here. How? By using me as bait. By being smarter than them, Colt corrected. First, we need to know who in town is working with them. The man who shot at you yesterday wasn't Fletcher, or you would have recognized him. It could be anyone. Olivia said helplessly. "I've only been here 3 days, I hardly know anyone. Then we'll start with who you do know." Colt began pacing. "The stagecoach driver who brought you here. The banker who helped you set up your accounts. The realtor who sold you this building. Anyone who knew your arrival date and your business plans." Olivia's eyes widened. "The realtor, Mr. Dawson, he asked a lot of questions about where I was from and why I chose Trinidad." "Then let's pay Mr. Dawson a visit." Olivia insisted on changing into proper attire before they ventured out. While she dressed, Colt checked and loaded his revolver, then positioned himself by the window to watch the street. "Ready," Olivia announced, emerging in a modest blue dress, her hair pinned neatly beneath a small hat. "You look nice," Colt said, the compliment slipping out before he could stop it. A blush colored her cheeks. "Thank you, shall we go?" They walked side by side down the main street, Colt's eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. The real estate office was 3 blocks away, a small building with Dawson Properties painted on the window. Inside, a thin man with spectacles looked up from his desk. "Miss Northcott." "What a pleasant surprise. Is everything satisfactory with the shop?" "Quite satisfactory, Mr. Dawson," Olivia replied. "This is my friend, Mr. Irwin." Dawson's eyes flickered nervously over Colt. "A pleasure, sir. What can I do for you both today?" "We're wondering about your client list, Mr. Dawson," Colt said casually, leaning against the desk. "Specifically, who might have been asking about new businesses opening in Trinidad recently?" Dawson adjusted his spectacles. "I'm afraid client confidentiality prevents me from—" "Someone tried to kill Miss Northcott yesterday," Colt interrupted. "Right after she opened her shop in the building you sold her, the building that only you knew she'd be occupying." I had nothing to do with any attack," Dawson stammered. "But you told someone she was coming," Colt pressed. Dawson's face crumpled. "A man came by about a month ago, said he was looking for investment opportunities, asked about new businesses, new people coming to town." "What was this man's name?" Olivia asked. "He said it was Smith." "I didn't believe him, but—" Dawson shrugged helplessly. "He offered $50 for information. That's a month's earnings for me." "What did he look like?" Colt demanded. "Tall, dark-haired, had a nasty cough, kept a handkerchief over his mouth most of the time." "Not Fletcher," Colt murmured to Olivia. "One of his men." "Where is he staying?" Olivia asked. Dawson shook his head. "I don't know, he just said he'd be in touch." As they left the office, Colt took Olivia's elbow. "We need to check the hotels, boarding houses. If the Fletcher gang is in town, they're staying somewhere." "There are 3 hotels and at least a dozen boarding houses in Trinidad," Olivia pointed out. "It could take days." "Then we'd better start now." They spent the morning visiting every lodging establishment in town, describing the man with the cough and asking about new arrivals. At the 3rd boarding house, a widow named Mrs. Green recalled such a man. "Nasty fellow," she said, lowering her voice conspiratorially. "Always whispering with his friends late at night, 3 of them altogether." "Are they still here?" Colt asked. "The sick one and another left yesterday morning, but the young one, good-looking boy with a scar right here," she traced her eyebrow, "he's still got a room upstairs. Number 4. Colt and Olivia exchanged glances. "Is he there now?" Colt asked quietly. "Haven't seen him leave today," Mrs. Green confirmed. "We need the sheriff," Olivia whispered. Colt nodded. "Mrs. Green, could you fetch Sheriff Benton? Tell him we found one of the Fletcher gang at your boarding house. Room 4. The older woman's eyes widened, but she nodded and hurried out. "We should wait for the sheriff," Olivia said, but Colt was already moving toward the stairs. "Colt," he turned. "Fletcher's men already tried to kill you twice. If he hears the sheriff's coming, he might run. We might not get another chance." "And if he's armed," Colt patted his holster. "So am I. Stay down here." "No," Olivia said firmly, following him. "He killed my husband. I'm coming with you." Colt knew better than to argue with the determination in her eyes. "Stay behind me," he ordered. They climbed the stairs silently, Colt's hand resting on his revolver. The upstairs hallway was dim, with 4 doors leading off it. They approached number 4, and Colt pressed his ear to the wood, listening for movement inside. Suddenly, the door swung open, catching Colt off guard. James Fletcher stood in the doorway, his own gun already drawn. "Well, well," Fletcher drawled, recognition flickering in his eyes as he saw Olivia. "If it isn't the widow Palmer." "That's far enough, Fletcher," Colt said, his revolver now in hand and pointed at the outlaw's chest. Fletcher smiled, revealing teeth too perfect for an outlaw. "2 against 1 doesn't seem fair." "Neither does shooting an unarmed banker," Olivia retorted, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Business is business, madam," Fletcher said. "Nothing personal, but you making yourself a witness now that became personal." "Drop the gun," Colt ordered. "Sheriff's on his way." Fletcher's smile didn't waver. "I don't think so. My boys are watching for the law. First sign of a badge and they'll start shooting." His cold eyes shifted to Olivia. "Should have left town when you had the chance, Mrs. Palmer." "It's Northcott," she corrected. "And I'm done running." A flicker of uncertainty crossed Fletcher's face, and Colt seized the moment, lunging forward to grab the outlaw's wrist. The gun went off, the bullet embedding itself in the ceiling as the two men struggled. Despite his youth, Fletcher was strong and fought viciously. He slammed Colt against the wall, causing his old wound to scream in protest. Colt gritted his teeth against the pain and drove his knee into Fletcher's stomach. Olivia watched in horror as the men grappled, their guns forgotten on the floor. Fletcher managed to land a solid punch to Colt's jaw, sending him staggering backward. The outlaw dove for his weapon, but Olivia was faster, snatching it up. "Don't move," she commanded, pointing the revolver at Fletcher with surprisingly steady hands. Fletcher froze, then slowly straightened, a calculating look in his eyes. "You won't shoot me." "I watched you murder my husband," Olivia said coldly. "Give me a reason not to return the favor." Colt had recovered his own weapon and moved to Olivia's side. "Listen to the lady, Fletcher. She's had a rough couple of days." Footsteps thundered up the stairs as Sheriff Benton arrived with 2 deputies. "What in blazes?" the sheriff exclaimed, taking in the scene. "James Fletcher," Colt announced, "leader of the Fletcher Gang and wanted for train robbery and murder in Missouri." Fletcher's cocky demeanor faltered at the sight of the lawman. "You've got nothing on me." "I have an eyewitness," Sheriff Benton said, nodding toward Olivia. "And I reckon the Pinkertons have a nice drawing of you hanging in post offices across 3 states. As the deputies moved to handcuff Fletcher, he made one desperate lunge toward Olivia. Colt stepped between them, taking a blow meant for her. Without thinking, Olivia swung the revolver she still held, striking Fletcher across the temple. The outlaw crumpled to the floor, unconscious. "Nice move," Colt said appreciatively, rubbing his shoulder. "I told you I can take care of myself," Olivia replied, handing the gun to Sheriff Benton. The sheriff looked down at the unconscious outlaw. "Where are his companions?" "He said they were watching for you," Colt explained. "Probably nearby." "Williams, get Fletcher to the jail," Benton ordered one deputy. "Roberts, organize a search party. We've got 2 more members of the Fletcher gang somewhere in town." As the lawman took charge of Fletcher, Colt gently led Olivia downstairs and outside. The afternoon sun was bright after the dim boarding house, making her blink. "Are you all right?" he asked, studying her face. "I'm not sure," she admitted. "It happened so fast. You were brave in there." Olivia looked up at him. "So were you. Though I noticed you put yourself between me and danger again." "Force of habit," Colt said with a slight smile. "A dangerous habit," she observed, touching his arm where Fletcher had struck him. "You're going to get yourself killed one day, taking bullets for strangers." "You're not a stranger anymore, Olivia," he said quietly. The way he said her name sent a flutter through her chest that had nothing to do with fear or adrenaline. Before she could respond, shouts erupted from down the street. "There they are," Sheriff Benton's voice carried clearly. "Stop where you are." The sound of running footsteps approached, and suddenly 2 men appeared around the corner, guns drawn. One was tall with dark hair, the other shorter with a red bandana. "There she is," the taller one shouted, raising his weapon toward Olivia. Colt moved without hesitation, pushing Olivia behind him and drawing his revolver in one fluid motion. His first shot caught the tall man in the shoulder, spinning him around. The second man fired wildly, and Colt felt the burn as a bullet grazed his arm. More gunshots rang out as Sheriff Benton and his deputies joined the fray. The shorter outlaw fell, clutching his leg. The taller one tried to run but collapsed after a few steps. When the shooting stopped, Colt turned to check on Olivia. She was pressed against the wall of the boarding house, her face pale but composed. "Are you hit?" she asked immediately, her eyes on the bloodstain spreading on his sleeve. "Just a graze," he assured her. "Nothing serious." She closed her eyes briefly. "That's twice now you've stepped between me and a bullet. And I'd do it again," he said simply. Sheriff Benton approached, holstering his weapon. "That's all of them. The Fletcher gang won't be robbing any more trains." He clapped Colt on his uninjured shoulder. "Nice shooting, Irwin." "Couldn't have done it without Miss Northcott," Colt replied. "She's the one who knocked out Fletcher." The sheriff nodded approvingly at Olivia. "Remind me never to get on your bad side, madam." After giving their statements to the sheriff, Colt and Olivia walked slowly back toward her shop. The excitement had drawn crowds, and whispers followed them as they passed. "You're going to be the talk of the town," Colt observed. "Hardly the quiet start I was hoping for," Olivia sighed. "Look at it this way, no one's going to give Trinidad's toughest dressmaker any trouble now." That earned him a genuine laugh, the sound warming him more than the afternoon sun. They reached her shop, and Olivia unlocked the door, pausing before entering. "I suppose you'll be moving on now," she said, not quite meeting his eyes. "With the Fletcher gang captured, your job here is done." Colt studied her face, noting the hint of regret in her expression. "I did tell you I was between jobs. Yes, you mentioned that, and Trinidad seems like a nice town." Olivia looked up at him. "It does have its moments. Plus, I promised Sheriff Benton I'd help train his new deputies next month." This was a lie, but a harmless one. "Did you?" Her lips twitched with the beginning of a smile. "And there's this dressmaker who owes me a new shirt." Colt gestured to his torn, blood-stained sleeve. "Can't leave before collecting." "That would be terribly irresponsible," Olivia agreed, her smile growing. "So you see, I might need to stick around, if that's all right with you." Instead of answering, Olivia rose up on her tiptoes and pressed a soft kiss to his cheek. "I think that would be more than all right, Colt Irwin." He caught her hand as she turned to enter the shop. "Olivia." "Yes, I've been shot before," he said with a crooked smile. "And you're still too stubborn to learn," she replied, but this time the words held affection rather than reproach. "Some lessons are worth the risk," Colt said, following her inside and closing the door behind them. In the months that followed, Trinidad witnessed the flourishing of both Northcott's fine apparel and the unlikely romance between its proprietor and the cowboy who'd saved her life. Olivia's dresses became famous throughout Colorado territory, sought after by ladies from Denver to Pueblo. Colt found steady work as a deputy sheriff, his experience and calm demeanor earning him respect throughout the county. They were married the following spring in a small ceremony attended by half the town. Sheriff Benton served as best man, and Mrs. Green from the boarding house cried louder than anyone when they exchanged vows. "Never thought I'd see the day," the sheriff remarked at the reception. Colt Irwin settling down. "Neither did I," Colt admitted, watching Olivia across the room as she chatted with well-wishers. "But then again, I never thought I'd meet someone worth staying in one place for." "You still got that bullet scar from the Fletcher gang?" Benton asked. Colt touched his arm absently. "Small price to pay." "I hear the judge sentenced Fletcher to 20 years in territorial prison," the sheriff said. "His boys got 15 each." "Good," Colt said firmly. "Olivia can finally put the past behind her." As if hearing her name, Olivia looked up and caught his eye across the room. The smile she gave him still had the power to quicken his pulse. She excused herself from her conversation and made her way to his side. "Are you talking about outlaws at our wedding?" she asked, slipping her arm through his. "Only about how they're locked up tight," Colt assured her. "Good." She leaned against him contentedly. "Because I'd rather focus on the future." "What future might that be, Mrs. Irwin?" he asked, still savoring the sound of her new name. "One where you don't get shot anymore," she replied with mock sternness. "I'll do my best," he promised, bending to kiss her lightly. "And one where we build something lasting," Olivia continued more seriously. "A home, maybe a family someday." Colt's throat tightened with unexpected emotion. "I'd like that very much." Later that night, as they stood on the small balcony outside their new home, a cottage on the edge of town with views of the mountains, Colt wrapped his arms around his wife from behind. "Happy?" he asked, his chin resting on her shoulder. Olivia leaned back against him. Happier than I ever thought I'd be again. Even in Trinidad, he teased. Not exactly St. Louis. Especially in Trinidad, she corrected. This is where I found myself again, where I found you. Colt turned her in his arms. You know, when I rode into town that day, I had no plans to stay. Just passing through. And then someone started shooting at me, Olivia said with a smile. Best thing that ever happened to me, Colt admitted, though I could have done without you seeing me bleeding all over your shop floor. I rather liked taking care of you, she said, tracing the scar on his cheekbone with her fingertip. Even if you are the most stubborn man I've ever met. I prefer to call it determined, he corrected, capturing her hand and kissing her palm. Determined then, she conceded, and brave. And kind and mine. Always yours, Colt promised, sealing the vow with a kiss as the stars shone over Trinidad, the town where a wounded cowboy and a dressmaker with a past had found not just safety but love.